other people where the dialogue is happening.
Right. That's right. And that's why I believe in democracy. It seems stupid to say it now. People think, oh man, I never have been like a handkerchief head, and it caused me a lot of problems with critics. I never was like a person who just go along with whatever white folks say you need to go along with. That's never my vibe, even when it was behind whippings at stake. So now I'm too old to be in that mode. It's not a kind of mindless optimism. This is a system that requires participation. And if we allow ourselves to be duped and we don't realize the possibility, especially for those in lower economic classes, which is firmly where I come from. Though I'm not there now, I firmly come from there. And I understand the importance of participation because I'm a jazz musician. If I stand up on the bandstand and play all the solos, musicians not going to play that way. If I'm dictating every moment of the music, it's not going to sound good. When you open the music, when our band started, everybody arranging, man, we played 200% better because we're playing each other's music. We start to have ownership over everything. Then you develop trust. You're not the only one who can do something. A lot of people can do things. That's one of my father's sayings. Hey, man, there's a lot of talent, people homeless. He talked to a homeless person for a long time. Man, what you talking with this dude about? Man, this cat used to be an architect. He come back and tell you the whole story. He said, man, there's a lot of talent all over the world. Don't be fooled. And I think what we learned in our orchestra, in our group, was when you open up the floor, man, you have a much better time. You don't want to just listen to yourself play all night.
I always noticed that. The last time I went, because the guy, Greg Scholl.
Sure, yeah, that's my man.
Yeah, he's great. He hooks me up when I go to the city, because I would just go. The last time I went, it was Marcus, who is the bass player from Electric Miles?
Marcus Miller.
Marcus Miller.
That's a good dude too, man. Heart of gold.
I saw him do. He did a night of. It was just like some pieces from that period of Miles, right? From Electric Miles. But like in any jazz, like when I watch the old footage in terms of the democracy thing, there's something amazing about when one guy's soloing, and then there's a couple other guys just standing around.
Right. You better be listening. You better be listening. You better be listening to what they're playing, because when you start playing, you got to continue what they were playing.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, you better listen, man, because the music, it's got to be continuous. So you got to really follow them.
So what were some of the, like just looking back real quick in terms of, because I know you recorded with Dizzy Gillespie. You did a record with Dizzy. And,
sure, yeah, with Dizzy, yeah.
And you've worked with a lot of guys that you grew up listening to.
Yeah.
Is that about the biggest thrill in some ways?
To know them, because they're so soulful.
Yeah.
Even the ones that didn't like you, like Betty Carter never really liked me, but she had so much integrity, man. I loved her. I saw a concert of her in Germany one night, man. She was singing so good, and she had so much belief in the music. She taught younger musicians how to play. She wrote arrangements, and me and her got into it one night, and man, I finally got tired of her mess with me, and I cussed her out. And she looked at me and she said, "If some of that passion would come through your horn, we might actually hear something." And I love the way that they were, I love Sarah Vaughan. I was playing with her, and I learned this one obscure Duke Ellington song, "Tonight I Should Sleep with a Smile on My Face," but I didn't really know all the chords. So I messed up the bridge. How many people in the world know that song? You know, this woman sat down to the piano and played the hell out of the entire song. Because I didn't know at the time that she had played second piano in Billy Eckstine's band. And she truly could play. And when she finished playing all these flourishes and stuff, she looked at me and she said, "You have to learn these songs thoroughly, baby. Like, you didn't get that bridge together. Here's the progression." She showed me the progression. Boom, she was making faces. And she said, "You got to be more thorough." And I just started laughing. I said, man, I was 21 at that time. So, John Lewis, I tell you another story, but I was complaining to John Lewis, great piano player, the music director of Modern Jazz Quartet, about some critique I was mad about. Man, they did this, wrote this, blah, blah, blah. So he was listening to it, man, he's patient. After a while, he looked at me. He said, he said, too much complaining, even about an insult given to someone, is really a form of, a veiled form of egotism. Can we rehearse this music? So, they were always full of stuff that, great Sweets Edison. Y'all got so many stories from being around them so much.
Did you have a relationship with Miles at all?
I did, but it was very rocky. because when I came up, Miles, you start playing a lot of electronic music. I was like, man, I'm playing jazz. When I first met Miles, I had a derby on and a polyester suit. And he looked at me, could tell I was country. So he said, so you the police, huh? So I went to Herbie. I said, man, what is he talking about? I'm the police. He said, man, he made you the one come to clean this shit up. So we started laughing. I didn't understand what he was saying. Then he started saying jazz wasn't nothing, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't this, I wasn't that. So I started to bite back at him. And then I jumped on his bandstand. That made him really mad at me, man. I jumped on him one night in Vancouver. I was sitting in the thing with cats in my band, and it was like, man, I heard Miles on the radio saying, you wasn't shit, your daddy wasn't shit. You got to deal with this. So I made a bet with them. I said, man, I'm going to go jump on him tonight. And I went out there and jumped on him. He cut the band off. He was really mad. And so after that, me and him had a real, he didn't like that. He wanted to be the only one picking on you. He didn't like to be picked back on.
Uh-huh.
And but I still learned a lot from him before that. It's 3 or 4 things he told me that I thought were really insightful. And you could see why he was the genius that he was. He just had another type of intelligence. I remember one question he asked me was interesting. He said, how did you figure this out? And I knew what he was talking about because he wasn't talking about my playing because I couldn't play. It's like a gauntlet of misinformation that you have to see your way through to figure out what playing is. And it's more about just acuity. And he actually understood that. It's hard for an older person to understand what a younger person has to face in their generation. Very difficult. Right. Now I know that I'm much older. It's very hard for me to look at a 20-year-old person and understand what are the obstacles in their way.
Right.
Whereas he was thinking about that and could see it.
And what else did you learn from him?
About sound. I asked him something about sound, and he said, nobody can teach you nothing about sound. That sound is so deep within you, within what you're playing. And if you want to develop your sound, you don't get a progression like you do if you're working on scales. You got to go deep inside and stay in there for a long time, and then it starts to evolve. And he said Dizzy had told him to hold longer notes. And he told me, when you're soloing, hold longer notes. He said, and then you have to be comfortable when you rest to hear your sound. See, if you're playing, you don't never rest. Then he told me, as long as you're playing with people that's playing loud, you're not going to develop your sound. And it made me laugh because they were playing loud on his bandstand, with a lot of electronic instruments. Yeah. But then I understood what he was saying and things like that. But he was smart conceptually, too, about other musicians. He talked about Fats Navarro, about Dizzy's playing, who Duke Ellington was. He had a lot of information.
And he seemed to be able, as time went on, to really surrender stage to other musicians. He didn't seem to be that egotistical on stage.
Yeah, but then he wasn't playing his chops. He wasn't playing that much.
Yeah.
I mean, by that point. But he was always like that. Even when he was younger. Yeah, he loved great musicians. He loved Train. He had the greatest bands. He's very smart. So in addition to like his ability, he also understood a lot about the fundamentals of the music. He understood who Louis Armstrong was. He knew how to break his ensemble up. And he knew how to give musicians space, and he inspired them to play because he believed in the music.
Yeah, because I met Herbie Hancock briefly at a thing. I hosted a conversation with him around that Blue Note movie.
Right.
And, it just seems like, Miles had a profound effect on how he conceived of how to play. And I had to sort of start to get into Herbie, and it's sort of astounding. That guy's an astounding musician.
Yeah, he is, and he was playing with Miles young.
Yeah.
Herbie was 23 playing with Miles.
Yeah.
Tony Williams was 17.
Yeah.
So when you hear them play, the kind of clarity they play with. Now I had the opportunity to play with Herbie, Ron, and Tony when I was 19. I went on the road with them, Herbie Hancock Quartet. And man, I had no idea what they were playing. And the first time we played a song called The Sorcerer, I never even heard chord structures like that. Yeah, I'm 2 years from New Orleans and playing a funk band. Man, they started playing, and Ron Carter told me before the first gig we played in the Playboy in the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, and I was getting ready to walk on stage with them, and I was thinking, man, we had only had one rehearsal. I said, I have no idea what in the world I'm doing up here with these musicians. And Ron tapped me on my leg. He said, listen, man, if you get lost, just listen to me. I'm gonna be following you, and don't worry about shit. And we went out there, and that, man, I can't tell you how that made me feel. You have no idea the nerves. It's one thing to be nervous, you're going to mess up a part. It's another thing when you have to improvise on something. You have no idea what you are playing. But that was a deep moment for me, just the kind of love he showed me in that moment.
And you knew what he was saying, and he did it?
Oh, man, definitely. He looked out for me like I was his son or something standing up there. No question. No question about it.
That's so scary. And Herbie was nice to you, right?
Yeah, and Herbie's nice to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like gold. Herbie is like gold, man. He's nice to everybody. He's Buddhist, you know. I was complaining about the money I was making to Herbie.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 19, man. Well, I'm not really playing that much on my horn, but I'm complaining, man. I'm getting paid so and so and so and so. So Herbie, before we go out on a gig, Herbie goes, "Hey, man, look out into the audience." I looked out in the audience. He said, "You see those people?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "If you don't walk out on the stage, nobody is going to leave. If I don't walk out, everybody is going to leave. That's why you're paid what you're being paid." Then he said, "Let's go out, man. Let's go out." So, you know, the jazz musicians, they like that, man. It's just a matter of a fact.
Right. And you've been around them your whole life. Yeah,
I grew up with it. You know, and a lot of musicians I knew actually before I was in New York, like Art Blakey, Dizzy. I met all of them. First time I played for Dizzy, my daddy said, "Hey, Diz, this is my son Wynton. He's a trumpet player." I was 15. And Diz gave me his trumpet. He said, "Yeah, play the trumpet." And his mouthpiece was really shallow, different from my mouthpiece. So I went to play something. Man, what I played sounded terrible. So Dizzy looked at me. He was trying to figure out what to say. He said, "Yeah, practice, motherfucker." And we started laughing.
And how long's been Jazz at Lincoln Center? How long's that been?
Since 1987.
Yeah. And that's home, right? That's the place.
Oh, man, yeah. We sold for our staff, board, everybody. They sold for real, man. They showed me so much in this pandemic because it's such a hard time for us, man. We don't have any revenue coming in. My people, they still dedicated. They still working. We're putting all kind of stuff up online, getting recordings out, blogs. The musicians are working, putting on summer camps. We got staff members calling people, everything, man. I mean, it's moving actually to think about what they're doing in this time. And, you know, we still have a long way to go. It's a struggle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a struggle on all levels. And I think that this new record was it's just great. Like, it really blew my mind. And it's definitely speaking of struggle, it is an assessment of the reality of the situation that is pretty dire and pretty focused and even funny in a way, but dark and beautiful, man. It's a great record.
Man, thank you so much, man. Thank you for talking to me.
Yeah, man.
It's great to see you too, man. I'm glad we got to Zoom hook up.
Yeah, me too. When we get through this plague, I'll come by the place and watch you play.
Man. Yeah, come to rehearsal.
Yeah, thanks, man. Take it easy, Wynton.
Love, respect.
I enjoyed that. I learned things. I was a little nervous. I tried not to pretend like I knew things I didn't. The new record, Ever Fonky Lowdown, is available at, you can get it at store.jazz.org. And don't forget, with Simply Safe Home Security, you can protect your whole home around the clock. It's serious, lasting protection, and all it takes is a simple 30-minute setup. You even get a free security camera when you protect your home today. Visit simplysafe.com/WTF and get a free security camera, plus a 60-day risk-free trial with any new system order. There's nothing to lose, people. simplysafe.com/WTF. Now I'm going to try to do a folk hybrid electric blues riff that I got the rhythm of, kind of. There you go. That's a strong recommendation. It's almost good. Listen up.